What's up, everybody? Welcome to welcome to episode 82 of the Newberg podcast. I am J. Chris Newberg, and today's show is dedicated to a few different things. First thing is dedicated to my friend Steve Taylor and his brand new album from the Steve Taylor 3, Temporary Heart. I got to tell you, it's a phenomenal record. You should stream it. I'm so honored to have a song on there. I co-wrote a song with Steve over the pandemic. It's a love song. I used it to propose to Michelle with. The record is phenomenal. Steve is just such a great writer. The band is so tight. They write great songs. Steve Taylor 3, Temporary Heart. This episode is brought to you by the Steve Taylor 3 because Steve he sent me a plaque. I got a plaque and I've got the record on vinyl. I've already listened to it like crazy on my old man walks, but I got to be honest with you. It's a great record. Check it out. Just do it. Just check it out. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is Hannah's not here today. Hannah's having construction at her place again. And because I'm sick, I'm probably going to be asleep by the time the construction's done. So I decided to just power ahead. So she, being the delight that she is, she sent over a bunch of questions for me. So I'm going to answer these questions, but I'm also going to do the things that I want to do on the pod because that's what I do on the pod on episode 82. Is I do what I want. I go where my brain goes. It's an opportunity for my brain to run. So I'm running right now, y'all. Just running. That's what I'm doing. I'm running. Anyways, so Lions fans, when is it enough? When is it enough, Lions fans, for you to just accept the fact that the Lions are like a former fat kid who just like the Lions are like Jonathan Lipnicki. You know what I mean? Like he's this huge goofy looking kid with a little head, and then all of a sudden he starts lifting weights and he's in amazing shape, and all of you are like, yeah, he's still the goofy kid from Jerry Maguire. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's improved. Maybe he's done the work. They've improved. They've done the work. I can't tell you how hilarious it is to be on Facebook or any social media platform with Detroit people when they're watching a Lions game. If the Lions get a third down, the whole city is like, that's it. It's over. It's over. The whole run is over. It's over. What are you talking about? It's fun. Let it be fun. It wasn't fun for so long. But every Detroit Lions fan thinks it's a trick. And at any moment, the bottom's going to drop out. Have some faith, bitches. I mean, give them some credit. Let them do their thing. Please let them do their thing. Moving forward again. That guy who is like, I know it's a scary time for women. I know it is. And it's a lot of women are upset. A lot of women are freaked out about, losing rights, and they're scared. And obviously people have talked about how their families are frustrated and they're frightened. Then there comes that guy who's like, your body, my choice. First off, it's wordplay in the most negative possible way. Second of all, it's really scary about our country, but it's a fact. 99% of the women will be like, that guy's a disgusting troll. But like 1% of the women will be like, I kind of like it that he talks to me like that. Yeah, it is his choice what he does to my body. Give it to me, daddy. And in Sturgis, they'll totally have sex like near a motorcycle. That's weird, but I just hope everyone's safe. That's fine. Other thing I wanted to talk about, tabloids. Tabloids are confusing to me. Here's why. Tabloids are confusing because it's like the yearbook. It's like a never-ending yearbook. Remember how much yearbook was awesome and then sucked? Like in the yearbook, you were just like when in high school, like I want to be in the yearbook. And there was but it was mostly all the popular kids and the kids who worked for the yearbook who got to pick who was whatever. And then it was appeared candid. But now tabloids, can you imagine your every single day life having to be under a microscope? I don't know. It doesn't look like fun to me, but it's like, it's always the same people. And it's like, I'll look on the tabloids because I just do, because it's mostly for writing opportunities. And I'll see things like Ariana Grande is in trouble because who cares? Who cares? Honestly, who cares? Giselle's pregnant. Who cares? So many people care. So many people care. It's bananas to me. Now it's time in the show where Newberg just writes and reads jokes that he's written. And then we'll get into the fantastic interview from Hannah that's mostly comedy oriented. So comics on board, you're going to like it. Other people, you might just be like, I don't know, maybe I'm nude. Maybe I'm nude for this segment. Maybe that's what I do during this portion of the show. But right now, what we're going to do is the Newberg, not nude portion of the show. So here we go. Jokes. Oh, speaking of which, I've got a writing class that starts on November 24th. It's a 4-week class. I've got 8 slots remaining. The class is going to be a Zoom class initially, and then I'm going to give you assignments like homework, 4 separate weekly assignments. Foundations of joke writing is 1 week. Find your voice and themed writing is the second. Building joke sets and storytelling technique is the 3rd week. Performance editing and the art of turning around failure is the 4th week. And then we'll have a little, sort of performance together. I understand the benefits of a class for the most part. Like when you take a class at a club, your purpose is basically because you want to perform at that club. You're buying your way into the club. But this way, I'm giving you an opportunity to get knowledge. How can I give you knowledge? Because I'm going to get together with you individually 15 minutes a week. You personally, there's like 10 different people. That's like 150 minutes of my time a week times 4. That's several hours. And the class is only $225 for each one of you. And which is less than my weekly rate when I'm working. And this is for a month. This is just a great deal. What makes me think I'm qualified for this? A member of the WGA, hard to do. Member of SAG-AFTRA, not as hard to do, but hard to do. I produced and written hundreds of hours of television. I've been on Tonight Show, 14 applause breaks. Kimmel, didn't have the greatest set on Kimmel. AGT, I made it to like top 20. I have my own comedy special. I've got 2 actually, but 1 got taken from me. My social media is over 160,000 followers, fans for people of my material. Qualified. I know how to write jokes. I know how to teach. I'd love to teach you. If I can't, that's on you. All right, let's do some jokes now. After I'm telling you how good of a joke writer I am. I never said that. I just said these are jokes. Anyways, the President Trump is or to be Trump. I mean, I guess the president, the next guy. He's handing out cabinet positions, and he handed out one to a lady who shoots dogs, and I think she's the I don't know what she does, but she shoots dogs and loves meth. I don't know what she does, but she's photogenic. And he gave the defense thing to a guy who was a news anchor. Smart. So congratulations to Captain Jack Sparrow for his new cabinet position as buried treasurer, because he's a pirate, so he would be great at buried treasurer. I feel sorry for hostages who've never been held. That's a great joke. Want to know why? Because you say hostages and people immediately think about hostages, which is terrible. But then you do held hostage, and I feel sorry for hostages who were never held. People are like, I can't get mad at you. I want to get mad at you, but I can't. Skin tags. Those are just pop-up ads on your body. They're like, hey, buddy, pay attention to me. Get rid of me. And you got to get rid of them. So you're like, burn, burn, burn. You got to get rid of them. Yeah, that's right. Are the jokes going to keep coming? Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are, because it's not really all about business. Sometimes it's about jokes. A Spirit Airlines flight in Haiti was struck by gunfire. The bullets were charged $45 for not checking in online prior to shooting up the plane. Burn, 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 killing it with the jokes. I did this thing called Give Me a Topic, and I will write jokes for you on the spot. I'll just do a couple of these. Let's see. Here's some good one. Here were some good ones. The topic was Hallmark Christmas movies. And I said, well, these obviously aren't jokes that I would write. These are just exercising myself to do them on the spot. And the topic was from Natasha Vaught Miller. And she said, Hallmark Christmas movies. And I was like, Hallmark Christmas movies are the most fun you could ever have while using your own tears as lube. That's right. That's right. Cool. Then I had smart jokes. Too. Someone said the transitive property of equality. And I was like, I had a threesome once with algebra and logic. It was variable. It's not just smart. Like, because I'm just like, I know how to write jokes because it's just what I do. Let's see. Here's a good one. Difference between men and women. Men and women, they both want to be understood. Men just don't want it to happen during football, right? Because it's football. Because go Lions, go Lions. Let's see. There's a bunch of them I did. I guess I did like 150 or 100 and whatever. It was a pretty good exercise. But let's get into the meat of the episode. Let's get into the meat of the interview questions regarding comedian J. Chris Newberg. These are great questions written by Hannah Abiel, and I'm going to answer them. So she was like, what inspired you to start performing stand-up comedy? And who were my biggest influences early on? I'll tell you what inspired me to do stand-up. Honestly, it was to hide from my crazy, wild, abusive parents. They weren't so much like physically abusive as much as they were just like mentally abusive. They were constantly fighting. They were just constantly going back and forth at each other. It was my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather. And they were just constantly at each other. So I would hide in my room and I would just try to be funny. And a lot of times I would try to be funny to them or create things, or like at the earliest, when you're younger, it's like you bring toys out. You're like, because you don't have a personality. You're like, want to see my new truck? Look at my truck. Look how cool my truck is. And they're like, oh, that's really cute. You're like, no, but it's my truck. And then you have nothing else. So then I was like, all right, well, the truck's not playing anymore. What do I need to do? So I started coming up with ways to imitate my mother and to imitate my grandfather and my grandmother so that they could laugh and I could make them not be angry with each other. So who were my biggest influences early on? A lot of musicians were my comic influences when I started, because I started in music before I started with comedy. So like the Lemonheads and Elvis Costello and Robert Smith of The Cure, just really good lyricists, people who set tones. Like obviously there are much better lyricists than Robert Smith of The Cure, but he set a tone and he created a world, and it was very inspiring to me. But comedically, it was always Rodney Dangerfield, because it was uncomfortableness met with setup punch, met up with pain, met up with hilarity, met up with awfulness and awesomeness. And like he took the piss out of himself, but it wasn't self-deprecating as much as it was universal and celebratory. So that's my answer to my first question. Shall we continue with the interview? Of course we should. Why wouldn't we continue with the interview? Her second question, she has a lot of really good questions. She was like, how do you approach writing a joke? Is it a structured process for you, or do you rely more on moments of inspiration? I think it's both. I've been writing long enough to where I can, it's funny, I can write, I've been writing long enough to not be able to answer this sentence. I can write a specific thing, which is the exercise that I just read from on my page, is I can write a specific thing. If given a topic, I can write jokes on that topic because that's assignment. And that's a skill set I learned when I started working on television. You're given things to write about, so you have to figure out how to formulate the joke based on the information that you have. So yeah, it's somewhat structured, but a lot of times something will pop into my head. A lot of my jokes for myself are just things that pop into my head initially. And then after I have the topics, then I'll flush them out. I won't farm them out. I'll flush them out. Like if I want to talk about hostages who are upset that they're no longer held or whatever, then I can figure out how do I want to make a whole bit around that. And then I can talk about how people who are at war probably have jealous girlfriends who don't believe they're really being shot at. And then I can talk about other different things in that window and build upon that. But the original thought came from hearing the words held hostage, just like batteries not included. So there you go. What was the highlight of your comedy career so far? Any memorable gigs or experiences that stand out? I'll tell you, I'm a big visualization person, and I think anybody who's listened to this podcast for years knows, for the most part, the story. But I have new fans and new people are on here, so I'll just tell you the truth. In 1976, I was talking about 1976. I was at a movie watching Oh God with my grandmother, and I saw George Burns come out, and I saw him pretending it was Johnny Carson in front of the big gold curtain. And I looked at my grandmother and I was like, I'm going to be on the Tonight Show one day. And I don't know, a billion years later I was, and there was like the same gold curtain and I was ready, and it was incredible. The experience itself was remarkable. I mean, I went through a period of time where I was like, oh, I've talked about that before. I'm tired of talking about it, but it's something that I've accomplished that I'm very proud of. And it doesn't mean that it's something that I'm going to rest on. I would love to do more television, and I'm sure that I will. But that was something that was really special, and nothing will ever match the specialness of that moment. Because in that moment, I had the memories of my grandmother, the memories and the promise of myself, and like how absolutely attractive determination is, and how exciting it is to be disciplined enough to focus on a dream long and hard enough to let where it happens. So that's what I did. Uh, navigating through. So she said her next question was, there's only like a few more. Not that you're going anywhere. You're here, obviously. You're here. And I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for listening. Our podcast numbers on YouTube, we've grown to 142 subscribers. We started with 0 subscribers. Is that Joe Rogan numbers? Not yet. Is it ever going to be? I don't know. But I know that it continues to get bigger, and I believe in it. And it's several hundred now per episode between the streaming and the YouTube, and I love it. I love it quite a bit. I almost love it enough to not burp, but I did burp. How do you handle tough crowds or gigs that don't go as planned? This doesn't really affect me anymore. Not to say that I don't have tough crowds, because there's obviously always tough crowds that can happen or appear, but I just stay in the moment. When I stay in the moment, it makes up for all the other uncertainties or insecurities that I have. Staying in the moment is just about being honest with myself. It's not about crowd work. It's not about anything other than just being honest with the situation. I think I've been able to read a room long enough to where I can figure out what's going on. Like, I think I'm a virtuoso at room reading at this point. I can just tell what I can get away with and what I can't. It helps by watching the comedian in front of me for a second just to get a vibe. But if I just walk in late and I have to go right up, then I act as if I'm in control of the room. And if it doesn't go as planned, you just pivot. You just pivot to the next thing. I don't, whenever I do my visualization and my manifesting and my meditation, I don't visualize specific things. I visualize overall success in a certain arena. So that way it allows it to be better than what it is that I'm planning or looking forward to. And it just works. Let's see. You've written for their next question. These are great questions, Hannah. You're killing it. You can follow Hannah on Instagram at Little Hannah Sucks. And I'm sure you can find her mom on there, Lori, who's a big fan of the show. Hi, Lori. What's up? Michelle is listening probably. Hi, Michelle. You're a delight. Go to bed, sweetie, because you stay up 24 hours a day. You don't even do meth, which is impressive. You've written for major shows like Hollywood Squares and America's Got Talent and The Chase. How is it different writing for TV compared to writing stand-up? Well, I kind of answered that a little bit in the previous question. Writing for television is structured writing. Like, you're given a specific set of topics or beats or things that you need to establish. Like in Hollywood Squares, you have to write a question, which is not only just a question that's hard and tricky, but it's also a setup for a punchline, and then you have to write the punchlines. So it's like, there's just so many. It's like I haven't written for that show in a few months, so it's hard for me to get back in that mindset. But it's a setup, a punch, and then another punch. And with The Chase, it's all about individual information. You're writing jokes based on a person's background or their biography, and you're helping out like the chasers with their different comedic opportunities and giving them sort of topics, etc. So that's how it differs. It's still writing. It's still getting to the nuts and bolts of what you need to do, but it's definitely structured versus observational and inspirational. What's your current take on the state of pop culture or celebrity culture? I don't know. I think whereas I was younger, I think it would have been phenomenal to be a celebrity. But now it sounds like you're a target. It feels like you're a target, and it feels like everybody wants to come at you. Like, for example, earlier in this podcast, when I was like, Ariana Grande, I don't give a fuck. But that doesn't mean that Ariana Grande didn't want to do that. She's a spectacular singer. She doesn't strike me as the most friendly person based on things I've heard, but I've never met her. But she's just a target. If you're on television, or you're not necessarily television, but if you're in the news all the time, you're a target. Everyone's coming at you. It's like Elon Musk took his shirt off and everyone was like, oh my God, Brandon Fraser was fantastic in The Whale. I think I was the only one that said that. But like, I don't know this guy. He's obviously very successful. I don't necessarily agree with what he says. Who gives a fuck what I think? But the fact that I get to have an opinion on this guy because he's that popular and famous, I don't know if that would be ideal for me. I don't know if that's something that I'd really want to get behind anymore. But there was a point, there was a time I really did. Have you ever told a joke that you thought was a huge risk, but it paid off? Maybe one that bombed spectacularly. I've told so many jokes that have bombed spectacularly. I have a joke that I do on stage that's super risky, and it's always uh, there's a joke that I did. They say that black people don't tip. That's not true. Earlier today, I knocked a few over. You just have to get really low, and it's a play on words of leaning and falling over. And I've had people be like, "Don't you dare do that," and I've done it, and it was fine because there's nothing mean spirited about it. I always believe that you can say anything to anybody as long as it's not mean spirited. Like that to me is fair game. It starts getting weird when you start getting personal or negative or ugly. Uh, it's like if someone in the audience says something to you, they're like, "You're not funny." It's like, okay, comedy's subjective. You fat fuck. Like that gets kind of mean. Like why would I go after this person's physical appearance when they're allowed their opinion? Um, so I guess as long as you're being honest and as long as you're being truthful, you have no choice in doing the right thing and surviving a situation. Also, this interview applies to pretty much every occupation. So if comedy's not doing it, just plug in your own occupation. Ask these questions to yourself. Try to relate that way. Let's see how we're doing on time. We're doing fine. We got a couple more questions. And we're going to surf on out of here. By surf on out of here, I mean Dayquil. How do you think social media has changed the landscape of comedy for better or worse? Um, I think that social media has been phenomenal for it to the extent that a person with zero chance of ever meeting the right powerful person to put them in a situation of television can all of a sudden put themselves in a perspective or put themselves in a place where the whole world sees and then the whole world wants to come see them. You've had many different examples of people who've had massive success. And a lot of these people, their success, their celebrity, their individuality, their audiences are all very like small. Even though there's millions of them, they're not like the level of reference is different now. Like before, back in the day, you could just be like, oh, it's Friday night, we're going to watch Laverne and Shirley, or it's Friday night, we're going to watch Greatest American Hero, or it's Friday night, we're going to watch Saved by the Bell, or Saturday afternoon. But now you could have 20 million people who know who Charlie CXC, I don't know, or and just as many who don't. And it's like because those people follow this person who's much more popular on social media, they relate. So I guess you have to work hard to get an audience. And I know for a fact it's very hard for me to work to get an audience because it's like I put out content constantly, almost daily. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes I get people who come at me personally and it's exhausting. But I think it's made it better ultimately. And I think it's kind of ruined live stand up for a lot of us because the weekend, it's changed the structure. It hasn't really ruined it. But like comics playing Thursday through Saturday is a dying thing. It's like there's mostly like one nighters and younger hungry comics out on tour who want to do one nighters. I don't want to do 6 nights, 6 cities anymore, unless I'm on a tour bus or a private plane or I'm getting paid big money because I'm exhausted from doing it since I was 18. It's someone else's time to do that. Do I want to do 6 shows in 6 weeks? Yeah, I'd do that. But I don't know. I kind of got off the rails there. That's what I do. What's one piece of advice you would give someone just starting out in stand up? Never stop writing. Always keep pushing yourself. Constantly try to create. Constantly do your best. But when you don't have it, if there's a day that you don't have it, don't beat yourself up. If there's 2 days you don't have it, don't beat yourself up. If there's a week that you don't have it, don't beat yourself up. Just keep trying and keep trying and keep cultivating and keep evolving and keep going back to a joke and be determined to fix the joke if it's not there, to keep trying it till you get it to where you want it to be. That's like with all art, no matter what it is, just you have to get it there to get it there. And don't ever tire of the fact that you're human and sometimes you're working a day job, and sometimes you're sick, and sometimes you don't have the ability to complete and accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish on that day. But as long as you keep coming back, every day you come back to something, you've got a fresh set of eyes, and a fresh opportunity to do it. How much of your personal life do you allow into your comedy? You ever feel vulnerable sharing certain aspects of yourself on stage? I've started to do more personal stuff lately, and it feels freeing and spectacular. I still don't come at it from a place of negativity or meanness. which is why I think it's okay. Like I don't ever say anything that I think could hurt someone's feelings. When I speak of my grandmother and grandfather, I'm okay with their reaction because they're both deceased. Same thing with my mother and my father, but none of it's mean spirited. And when I talk about Michelle, I'll call her on her shit, but it's not anything that I wouldn't do to her face that she and I haven't both laughed about. And none of it's mean, like simple stuff like, oh, the only thing I miss about being single is my opinion. It's just true. I mean, it's just like there are so many times I don't get to have what I want for dinner because we're eating together and she's chosen. There's a lot of times I don't get to watch what I want on TV because she wants to watch something. And it's, we have one big TV. That's cool. It is what it is. But it's never mean spirited. How are we doing on time still? We're still doing great. We got 10 questions. I'm going to power through them. Have you noticed shifts in what audiences find funny over the years? How do you adapt your material? Hannah, these questions are great, girl. Have you noticed any shifts in what audiences find funny over the years? How do you adapt your material to stay relevant? That's a challenging thing. I read every single day. I read the different tabloids. I read the different news stories. I read to see what things are trending and what topics people are talking about. I think audiences find funny to be funny consistently. And if there's a way that you have to tap into yourself to be funny to other people, I think that's something that people will always relate to. People will relate to funny regardless of what they find funny. There's always going to be people who won't find you funny, but that doesn't mean it's not funny. Quick questions like favorite joke you've ever written. Oh, quick questions. It's like she's been doing a podcast with me for years. Favorite joke you've ever written, weirdest place you've ever performed, and a comedian you'd love to collaborate with. Favorite joke I've ever written, I don't know if that exists because it's like clothing for a designer. It's like whatever they've purchased recently or created recently, that's their favorite. I do really like one of my favorite jokes of all time was the when a woman said to me, and I remember because it was rooted in reality. I met this girl at a bar, and she said, I don't remember what we went home together. We were fooling around, and I kind of hurt myself. And she was like, "What's your fantasy? I'll do anything." And I was just like, "Do you think you can make my shoulder stop clicking?" Like that's one of my favorite jokes. Weirdest place I've ever performed. I played on a gambling cruise in Michigan on the Detroit River between Detroit and Windsor. And I played and everyone lost, and I still had to do comedy. That was tough. And I played at this horrible Mira charity function that was for the parents of children who've committed suicide. That was awful. Comedian I'd love to collaborate with. Anybody who would like to collaborate that's working. I mean, I don't know. Anybody. There's not anyone who I don't think is fantastic. If you're out and you're successful and you're working, I'm happy to collaborate with you. I would say I would have loved to have written jokes for Dangerfield. That would have been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed writing jokes for Cable Guy. That was a lot of fun. I don't know. I like pure joke people. I love writing jokes for pure joke people. I did have a lot of fun working with Whitney Cummings. She was fantastic. Watching her brain work, totally different than mine, but either I would inspire or she would inspire. But it was much more. It was much more 70-30 on her end, and I was her writer technically on the show. But she's phenomenal. I would love to collaborate with her at some point. She's great. Keeping it going. How do you deal with creative slumps or writer's block? I'm very forgiving to myself. I don't beat myself up. I also don't really have a lot of writer's blocks or creative slumps because I don't allow myself to, because I have exercises and tricks to get myself out of a creative slump. And if you take my class, I'll teach them to you. 4 more questions to go. How would you describe your comedic voice and style for someone who's never seen you perform before? I think it's observational silliness with bizarre setups, wordplay, switches, and a love for joke writing. It's just a love for joke writing. It's just a love for the craft. How do you balance your time between performing live, writing for TV, and other creative projects? I don't perform live as much as I used to because it's just something that it's a younger person sport on an every night level. I'll perform like once or twice a month. And when I'm writing for TV, I just do only writing for TV. That's my favorite thing to do, uh, because I just get to write, and I've proven myself performing wise, uh, and other creative projects. I spend a lot of time creating projects. I have a fancy meeting next week with a huge production company for a concept I created, and they seem to like it, and they want to have a meeting. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it goes only as far as that, but I'm very excited about it. But I try to balance it, but it does lean heavier towards TV. Again, Hannah, great questions. What's your philosophy on bombing? Do you learn from it, or do you have a specific way to recover? Uh, I don't know. A lot of people say you learn a lot from bombing. Personally, I think it sucks. I think it's a terrible feeling. You're not like, oh, this is what I could have done better. Some audiences are just sour. Not like it's the audience's fault ever, but sometimes you get a collective mind's eye of an audience that's just not in your favor, and you're fucked. So you just do your best, and at that point in time, you just have fun. I never take it personal. I never take it personally. When I walk off stage, it's done. Whether it's the greatest set of my life or the worst set, it's on that stage. I'm done with it. Onward and upward. Any projects you're currently working on that I'm excited about? Yeah, I'm working on this really cool true crime show, and I'm hoping it goes. Let's see. How has your musical talent influenced your comedic style and approach to performing? It's helped me a lot with timing. Music has definitely helped me with timing because it's jokes and music are the same thing to me. They're the same, they're the exact same thing. So it's helped me with timing. Last two questions. What's the most outrageous or surprising thing you've discussed on the Newberg pod? I think it was cool when we had Sylvia Sage, the professional adult film actress, talking about her freedom with sexuality and all of the different how just all of her different approaches to sex. I thought that was like pretty outrageous and wasn't really surprising, but it was kind of cool. It wasn't kind of cool. It was really cool. She's a great lady, and she's in touch with her career, and she's also a comedian. I enjoyed it. Last question: what's the one thing most people don't know about you, or a hobby that keeps you grounded? Um, I love to go for walks, and I love to go for long walks while listening to books on tape or podcasts. It's my favorite thing. There's a 4 mile stretch that goes around Los Angeles that I walk probably 5 times a week. I feel amazing afterwards. It's freeing and it's wonderful. So that's what they know. Thank you, Hannah, for those incredible questions. Thank you for everyone who has listened. Sorry that my voice is a little scrunchy, but this has been episode 82. If you like the show, please subscribe and share. If you just listened to it online, please watch us on YouTube at Newberg Pod. Please follow the show. Thank you so much. Hannah will be back next week. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was educational. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. And more than anything,